Hey everyone, so hopefully you're happy with the level of detail in your scene, because now we're going to get it textured and lit up. I spent some more time on the wire, just getting the drape how I liked it, playing with the vertices more. I added this vent to this building too, just to make it a bit more interesting looking. I use the same method as the vent on the pipe, where I just used loop cuts and then beveled and extruded them. So you can have a go at modeling your own or designing your own, but you can also just take it from my blend file if want to just add it in and use the same one as me. So let's start with lighting, because it will affect how our textures look, so it is good to get that established kind of early. We can change it later on, of course. But first I want to make sure we have like a clean slate for our materials. So select either an object that has no material applied to it, or if it does, just go to material properties and hit this negative symbol until it is empty like this. And then select everything except for our skyscrapers, because those are done. And make sure the blank object is highlighted in yellow. Just shift click it if it's not. And then go to this drop down menu and go copy material to selected, and that should remove all materials so everything looks the same. There we go. And I'm going to get two windows going here. One's the camera view, and one I will use as a light setup view. So the top is really good for that. So 7 on the numpad. So just go Shift A, light, area. By default, it's pointing down, so I'm just going to move it to the side, kind of where I want the light to come from. And then I'm going to angle it towards the subject. You can play with the height and everything as well. And the reason it's not doing anything is we have to adjust the power. Right now, it's basically a light bulb in the sky, so it's not actually reaching anything. It's only 10 watts. So if you go to your lighting settings here, your lighting properties, right now it's 10. I'm going to do 10,000. And I'm going to change the size to 5. So that's a bit of a wider range. The bigger you make an area light, though, the weaker the light becomes, because it gets more spread out. Oh, I actually like that position as it is, because that does exactly what I wanted. I wanted some light to hit the pipe, and I wanted some shadow from the railing, just to make it a bit more interesting. So actually, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm just going to leave it there. But yeah, do finesse it as much as you like. I am going to add a few things. Right now, you can tell by looking at the scene just based on the shadow, there's nothing to the right of us. And I want to give the impression this is like a full city. So I'm actually going to add like a dummy building. So I'm just going to add Shift A, Mesh, Cube. This doesn't actually have to be a modeled building because it's not going to be in the render, but it is going to cast a shadow, as said. So I want a shadow on the balcony so it feels less open. So you can put it there, and you can see it affecting the scene already. So just make sure it's out of view. There we go. I love that. So I have the shadow of the railing and the shadow of the building, so it feels like you're more contained, like there's something to the right of you. And I want to do that to the skyscrapers as well. It looks very open right there. I want to give the impression that there are more tall buildings just out of frame. I do have to move my light. Come on, keep the shadow. There we go. So let's see. Maybe not that tall. There we go. Just like a bit of a shadow on it. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you can just play with your lights and dummy objects as much as you like until you have an arrangement. It is quite fun, making these fake shadows. You'll look at my scenes, and off scene there's just random, bars everywhere because I want a cool shadow on everything. And then let's do this wall is likely, actually, I thought it would be too dark here, but it seems the light is bouncing off this cube. However, when I do my render, I will not be rendering these layers together. So actually here, I'm going to add a light. Let's see, let's hide this. There we go. See how it got so much darker on this wall? That's because if I have this cube, the light is bouncing off it and reflecting there. So when I render this, I'm going to render it without the foreground. So I want it to be a bit more lit up there. So I'm going to add another area light right here. Shift A, light, area. And I want it pointing up. So RY 180. And then you can just play with that. Just light up the wall a bit. I don't want it to be very strong. We'll dial this in more once we actually have our textures too. There we go. And you can't see this balcony, so if I want just like a little tiny light, I'm just gonna right click here so it's not even in the camera view. Shift A, light, point. So this just emits light in all directions. But it basically takes up 0 physical space. Oh, it is quite strong by default. Just so it casts a shadow and we can actually see it. And I'll make it very weak, like 2. So it's like barely there. Yeah, like I said, we'll dial that in later. So this is a good lighting setup for us to work with now. So let's get to texturing. So we've already textured these 2 buildings using image textures. Now we want to use something called PBR textures. PBR textures are also image textures, but they contain more images, so it has more information, like this object has cracks in it, this object is this shiny, this object is this bumpy. So it's just got a lot more information. It does require more setup, but actually we have an add-on to really help us with that. So go to Edit, Preferences. I forgot to mention this one at the start. Go to Node Wrangler. So activate Node Wrangler, and that's going to take away a lot of the work for us. So if you remember our image textures, how we had to like set up these nodes and plug them in, basically Node Wrangler does all of that for us if we're dealing with PBR textures. It could for image textures too, I don't know. Though these ones aren't as much work to set up, so it doesn't really matter. But PBR textures are basically this times like 6, so it is a bit more work. So let's start with the foreground. Basically, I'm planning for it to be 3 materials: the floor, the rest of the building, and then the door frame. I separated the door just so I could like swap those doors with this one. So let's start with the floor. So let's select in edit mode, select everything actually, and then do a UV Smart UV project. Most of these models are just extruded cubes, so we should be able to get away with just the auto unwrap. And then select the floor faces, the faces that comprise of what we want to be the floor material. And then do new material slot, new material, and hit assign. And let's rename it to floor tile PBR. And then I'm going to press Ctrl I so it inverts the selection. And I'm going to deselect the door frame. A lot of Blender is just figuring out the quickest way to select and deselect things. There we go. So that's everything I want to be concrete. So I'm going to add a new slot, new material, concrete PBR, and do assign. There we go. And then let's select the door frame. This one's not many faces, so. Oh my god. There we go. There we go. And then a new material slot again. Let's do a new material. Let's just call it a door frame. And assign. There we go. So it has 3 materials. So let's do the floor. By default, it's a principled BSDF. So you just click that node. Then this is Node Wrangler at work. Control-Shift-T. You're going to find a folder called Tiled Floor PBR. So just grab all of these images, and Node Wrangler somehow is just going to sort it for us. Principal textured setup. Boom, there we go. So we just skipped all those steps with Node Wrangler. So these are the separate images, like the normal map and displacement. It might be hard to see. Let's try the rendered view. Well, first of all, the tiles are too big, so I'm going to change the scale. But you can see the tiles are there. Let's do 5. How's that look? Oh, those are too big still. Let's do 7. Nine. There we go. I like that. And then if you look closely, you can see, like, let's find a good reflection. It's a bit hard to see here. I'll do a light here. There we go. See how it's reflecting on the floor now? And it's actually like responding to the cracks. Like it's actually, the light is being distorted by the cracks in there. So that's the PBR textures at work, because it has the information telling Blender that these textures actually have cracks here. The light should behave accordingly. So that's the wonder of PBR textures. And we're going to add one to the wall as well. So go to Concrete PBR. Same deal. So we just go to Principled BSDF, Control-Shift-T, find Concrete PBR. It's just called Concrete here, but I will make sure it's called Concrete PBR for you. So same thing. And this one has an extra image though. So there you can see it. The scale is off again, so we have to fix that. Let's play around with it. Let's try a 20. Still pretty big. Let's try. Also, the texture is too strong. If you go too high in scale, you'll start to see repeating, which can make it look pretty fake. So what I'm going to do instead, because I'm running out of room to scale here and it still looks big, I'm going to make the displacement map lower. So this is the layer that tells it how bumpy it is, like the actual height of the texture. So I'm going to make it more subtle with 0.1. So it's less obvious that it's like super out of scale. Let's do 25. There we go. And we can soften it up in Clip too. It's a bit better though. And then we want all the other buildings to have the same texture. So let's just unwrap these. Let's do, actually here, let's just do them in like little groups. We don't need to unwrap the pipes because they're not going to have an image texture on them. They're going to have a material. So actually let's just do the buildings. They don't need to be unwrapped if it's just like a really simple material. So Smart UV project on that one. Okay. Smart UV project. Smart UV project. Okay. And this has to be done in edit mode, by the way. You can do multiple objects too. Okay, there we go. We should be set up. So let's do the other buildings. I'm going to set this one to Concrete PBR. There we go. This one as well. Concrete PBR. Concrete PBR. And we can actually just select it. Just select the like the source one. Control L. Like materials. There we go. And then we have to make some other materials that covered like all this. It got so much better already. Like it looks more fleshed out. So let's do, I know I can use like a dark metallic color on so many things. So I want to make one of those. So on the railing, let's do a black sort of material. So I'm gonna add a new one. I'll name it too. Let's call it metallic dark. Then we can do like metallic light, metallic medium, have a full range. And then let's increase the, actually first let's do the color. Base color, pretty much black. We get a better angle on it so we can see the sun reflecting off it. And then roughness is okay. Let's boost metallic. I'll do about 3. You can see roughness, it'll get like super shiny. I want it to be kind of a matte finish. So I'll be our dark metallic and we can apply that to lots of things. So let's just grab everything that we think should match. So I think this wire, these 2 wires, fence, the supports, the railings, even the balcony, these railings too, the antenna. That should be it. Then let's select the original railing that has a material. Control L, link materials. Thinking. There we go. Nice. And let's set up a new material for these wires here. Let's use dark metallic and just modify it so it's lighter. So switch the material slot to metallic dark. And then if we click this, it'll make a duplicate that we can play with without messing up the original. So let's lighten that. It is quite distinct from the wall, so that's good. I'm happy with that. And let's name that metallic medium. And then I'm going to select everything else that I think should have that material. So the supports, the other wire, this electrical system on the wall of this building. So I'm going to box select that and deselect the building. Probably this vent. I think that's it. So let's do control. Oops, sorry. I need to click the original object. Do you mean the thing behind the thing you're clicking on? No. There we go. Control L, link materials. And are they shiny enough? Now that they're linked, you can change just one of them and it'll affect all of them. Boost the metallic a bit. And then let's do the pipe material. Let's do a new material. Let's name it pipe main in case we want to do multiple colors. For this one, I kind of want it to be a like coppery sort of color. So I'm going to go really dark, but like a very subtle copper color. So I'm just going to slide this. So it's like very slightly got like a red tint to it. Okay, and let's boost the metallic. Roughness. Does look quite cool matte. I do want some variation though in the texture, so I'm gonna make it, I'll split the difference. And then this, let's make it a slightly different color. So let's just make a copy of metallic, or sorry, pipe main. So pipe main, duplicate it. I'll name this. And then I'm just gonna make the color slightly lighter. So we have some variation. And we can apply it to that panel too. So I'm just gonna go tab. The panel's already selected. That's great. If it's not for you, just select the panel first. And then I'm going to go to new material slot. Assign should turn white if I were in render view. And then select pipe secondary. Go back to render view. How are we looking? Cool. So it's just like a little bit different. That's a bit too much though, actually. I'm gonna make it very subtle. There we go. And then for these vents, I think they can be the same color as the pipes. And the rest of the pipes, let's just select everything. That thin, like rubbery one, I'm gonna make probably black, just so it has like variation. And now I'm gonna select the pipe and take its material. So Control L, link materials. And this one, let's do dark metallic, or metallic dark, whatever I called it. Sweet. We can do this crate. I'll do a new material for that. The default material is already quite plasticky, so we can probably just get away with changing the base color. I'm gonna do like a deep red. So it's like got some variation, but it's not too loud. We have to do the door. Oh, actually here, I want to add some variation to these buildings. So I'm going to grab this band here, and I'm going to switch it to just a black material. So I'm just going to go new, base color, bump it a little bit. I try to avoid 100% black when I can. And then let's do these buildings too. Let's just name it flat black, or black flat. And then I'm going to select this building. I'm going to select this band at the top with face select, holding Alt, clicking these loops. And then I'm going to hit new material slot, assign. And then I'm going to select, where was it? Black flat. There we go. And same for this one. There we go. New material slot, assign, black flat. There we go. Maybe the roof too. Assign. There we go. Cool. So we have some more variation now. I'd like to do a second concrete. So I'm going to duplicate. I'll make a new slot, add concrete there, and then make it a new material with this button. So that's a new version of it. I'm just going to make this one slightly darker. So I'm going to do a brightness node in the shader editor. So I'm just going to type Shift 8 and then bright contrast. This is very subtly going to make it like one notch darker. I'm going to apply that to these like bands that I put around the building. Not that one. The floor won't be seen, so I'll just leave that. Just select all these because I was messy with my topology. And I'll select these. Same with these. See, being messy with your topology saves you a bit of time in the start, but then it can cost you time later. There we go. And I'm going to assign that new dark concrete we did. There we go. So that's like a little bit of variation. Actually, quickly while I'm here, I'm going to mark this sharp. See, that edge is too soft. There we go. So let's do door frame. Actually, I'm just going to use the black I made for these buildings. So I'm just going to switch this from door frame to black flat. There we go. And then for the door, I'm going to select everything. Actually, here, I'll select the knob first, because that's the easiest. In a wireframe, new material slot. Let's name it a shiny metallic. Metallic shiny, just to like keep our naming structure. And then assign. And then I'm going to select the door itself, so that plane. New material slot. Make this just a different color for now, and we'll tune it in a second. And here I'll go to render view so you can actually see what's happening. I'm just separating them out so we can deal with each part individually. I didn't hit assign. Okay, and then I'm going to select the knob again, just so I can go Control I and select everything else. And I'll make a new slot and assign. And I'll choose the black flat again. And for this one, I didn't name it, so let's name it door. So I want to choose a color for this door, so I'm just going to go to render view so I can get a good look at it. Again, I want some variety without it being too strong. Right now it's very neon, you can see it like reflecting on the floor. So I'm going to do like probably a deep blue. Like that. And then the knob, metallic shiny. So yeah, I have to get in close here. So let's see, I'm going to, actually here, I'm going to use dark metallic. and duplicate that because I want that as a base. And then let's do like basically white. And then let's lower the roughness so it's more reflective. I want like almost a mirror finish on this thing. There we go. Not quite mirror, but like, a brushed metal. There we go. Looks awesome. Okay. And let's see. We need to do the other doors. Normally I would have like just worked on one door and then duplicated it, but that would have required me to jump ahead in the modeling section. So now I'm just basically going to replace these doors with this one. So I'm going to apply the scale, the rotation, duplicate it. Then I'm going to click the old door. Let's see if bundle. And then let's do Control C, copy location. The rotation might get messed up, so it might require some work here. Copy rotation and copy scale. So yeah, it's switched backwards. Which door is this? That's the new one. RZ180. And let me get rid of the white door. RXX? Yes, RXX180. Just try and get the knob in the right spot. And then also these doors. So Shift D, select this one, Control C, copy location, and then we can just rotate it 90 degrees. Was that the right way? It's either 90 or minus 90. Let's see. Good. Okay. And then I'll bring it over to the other one with Shift D, Y, Y. And get rid of the old door. The frame's a bit misaligned, so let's touch that up. Bring it in. Lower it a bit. There we go. It's going through the floor, but you can't actually see the bottom in the shot. Again, I would recommend being as specific as you can and like doing everything properly. But it will take a lot of time. But it prevents a lot of issues, so it's good practice. There we go. And then lastly, a very obvious one, we're missing the sign. So I've actually provided this cable's not touching the ground. Get in there. Okay, great. So the sign, how about you? Yeah, you're good. Okay. So I provided a sign texture for you. I designed a bunch of signs and you can feel free to use any of them. I would recommend using your own as well. I made all mine in Illustrator and then I kind of like roughed them up in Clip Studio just for like visual storytelling. So I'm going to, this has a solidify modifier on it right now, I believe. So I'm going to apply that. Apply. Let's go to the UV editor. So actually first let's unwrap it. It's just cubes, so we can definitely do Smart UV Project. Let's make a new texture, material. New material, let's call it sign texture or text. And let's do it's an image texture, so it'll be the same setup as the buildings. So if you don't remember that, it's just principled BSDF. And then we need a image texture node. Image texture, and we need a mapping node. And we need texture coordinate node. It should turn pink or black. Interesting. Because I'm in material preview. There we go. Pink means I don't know what image you're looking for. So I'll get that into view so you can copy that if you like. Let's just open up our image. So there should be one called signage texture. There we go. And it looks a bit messy. So let's go to the UV editor. And you can see if I go to tab for edit mode, you can see all of the signs. So basically we just have to grab the faces and position them over what we want. So you can see the front of the sign changing there. So these are all at various scale, but I did design these 4 on the left with the billboard in mind. It's a fictional corporation I just made called Manta. I haven't decided what they do. You don't have to worry too much about the color because we can change it in Clip. Or we can change it even in here by adding a hue saturation node right here. But I wanted to provide two options for like a dark design and light design, so we can kind of decide which one we like. I'm gonna go with dark. I didn't notice until I made this that it looks a lot like the Muji logo. Just the colorway. It was not intentional. I just wanted something burgundy. There we go. And then let's do the other sign. So this face, and bring it in to the same sign, rotate it. That's upside down. There we go. We just size it down. Then try to match the other one. There we go. And then I want to add some more signs to like the door. That's why I got rid of the light. I wanted to put a sign there instead. And the light would be too much. So I'm going to do Shift A, Mesh Cube, and bring it in. Basically get a sign shape, so just like a very flat cube. You could do a plane too with Solidify if you want to. So I want to put one of these floor signs on the door. I put a variety of them because I thought you might want to put them on like a building where you can see multiple floors, so you need more than one. But I really like little details like that because it has so much visual storytelling. Because it changes the scene completely if it says like this is floor 14 versus if it says like this is floor 74. Because I wanted to give the impression that it's a big city, but not like, you know, a super fictional, like unrealistic city. So I just thought this range is like a typical one that you'd find in a big city. But yeah, if you put like 74 or something, that can completely change the feel of the piece because it's like, oh wow, we're very high up. Like, what kind of city is this? So it's just a really quick way to add like world building details. So same deal here. We just have to add the, once we have it like sized up, we just need the signage texture. I'm going to round these corners. So I'm going to apply the scale, pull it out a bit, and then grab the corners, Control Alt, and it'll click all of the ones around it, and do Control B. Probably round it quite a bit because it is so close, so it will be noticeable if we're using not many faces. And then just select this face, and I'm going to put it over a floor. It's sideways, upside down. There we go. Let's do, I mean, up to you. I'm going to do, I like 7s a lot. I'll do 17. I definitely have favorite numbers. Though working in 3s is good. I just don't like the number 3 itself. That's why. Just bring it in a bit. And then we can do another one right below it. Oh, that looks so good with the light on it. Shift DZ. We can do like no smoking, or we can do, I try to think about what makes sense. And this one says authorized personnel only. I think that would make sense on a door. So I'll use that. I was planning for this to be bigger though. That's why I kind of designed it that way, but I think we can get it away with it on this door. Yeah, it looks fine. So I think we can get away with it on this door. I try to choose something that makes sense. Like this one says gas in Japanese, which doesn't make much sense on a door. So I'm going to go with this one. I think that works pretty well. We just have to stretch it out a bit. There we go. And you can arrange them however you like. I'll do one more sign. I'll just copy this one, Shift DUI. Snap. And I'll bring it to, I'll do material preview. And let's bring it to this wall here. So I'll just snap to it. I'll get it roughly in the same area, and then copy rotation. And GXXYY, slide it into place. Turn off snap. I'll just put it in position. GX. So this one, it's next to pipes, so it doesn't really make sense to have this sign, because like it makes it sound like it's an entrance. No smoking also doesn't make sense on like the ledge of a building, nor does floors. So I'm going to choose this one that says gas in Japanese, because that actually gives more detail as to what these pipes have. The caution one might work too, but I think I'll just use gas here. Actually, here, I'll scale the whole sign down so it fits the shape of the design better. I want the sign to look a little more substantial, so I'm going to put a border on it. So I'm going to select the outer edge, extrude, S-Z, just to make it a little more equal. And then I'll select this, extrude, just a little bit. Then I'll select all these, and I'll assign it a new slot. Assign, and let's do just black flat. Shade smooth. Let's do it. Shade smooth. That faceting was bothering me. Edge split. There we go. So yeah, get as creative as you like with your lighting and signage using these tools. And I'd love to see what you come up with. I'll probably play with the lighting just a little bit more, but it is pretty much how I like it. This one I have to lower. I just want to show that there is a door there, but I don't want to make it seem like there's actually like something lit up back there. So I'll play with that a bit. And yeah, just figure out a setting that works for you, makes you happy, and we can move on to rendering, and we'll bring it into Clip Studio and do some little like hand touches to it to add some like little details, make it look more like painted and everything, like a proper anime background. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.